You know, all the mythologies of the ancient world, Greek mythology, Roman mythology, Norse, Egyptian, they all have stories relating to water. They have some that were born in the water and they came up out of the water. They had dividing of water. We know that from Moses and Elijah, and even in mythology, they have division of water by spitting in the water or slapping it or something, and the water rose back. But there's not a single mythological story, not a single myth of any of those ancient civilizations that talks about anyone walking on the water. Because it's so outlandish. I mean, it's the point that you don't even think about it in a fairy tale because it's so illogical to assume. But they did have a belief, and the belief was this, that if you were destined to die that night, that a ghost would appear to you who actually did die in the water, in a shipwreck or whatever. And that when that ghost appeared to you, then you were destined to die that night. Okay, so now there's nothing that we can respond to about Jesus' actions. The first time ever it ever happened. Ever. Jesus decided he'd walk out there to them. Well, now they should have been dead long before now. That ship should have sunk. But for some reason it didn't. Now, Jesus was over here initially, and he saw them over here. Now, they couldn't see him because, they were out in the middle of this storm, 3 o'clock in the morning, and they would look up here, all they see is mountains. So they had no idea where Jesus was and whether he was paying attention to them or what. They didn't have cell phones back then to call in and check. So now the mysteries become even more compounded. First of all, mystery number one, how did Jesus see them? I can't see 4 or 5 miles. Can any of you? And even if I could see the speck from the top of a mountain, how would I know it's them? And how do I know that this was not another craft that was out there that didn't have my disciples? Now, the next thing. So not only how do you see them, but now how do you get to the shore? Even with a fast animal or a camel, it's going to take you at least half hour to an hour to get there. So the ship would be long gone by then. And then once you get to the shore, then here comes the next question. How do you get out in the middle of the sea where the ship is located? No one's going to rent me a boat to get out there. So what do I have to do? I have to walk on the water. Something that even in the wildest imaginations of mythology was not even a story written about it, because it would never happen. Logic demands at least some type of foundation to all myths and all traditions and all mythologies. But there was nothing for this one. And so Jesus did something on behalf of his disciples that has never been done before. And reversing the law of gravity to make that happen is just absolutely unheard of and unfathomable. But yet Jesus did it for his disciples. I don't know the answer to those first few questions. But I do know this. Even though we may not see him, we may not hear him, we may not feel him, we have no idea where he's located, He never stops looking at us.
Amen.
They didn't see him, but he absolutely saw them, knowing what they're going through, knowing that they are just following directions that Jesus had given them. Jesus had told them, get in the boat and go across. It was a command. And Jesus, being Jesus of divine order, perhaps he knew that this thing was going to happen. We don't know. But we do know that when it did happen, he overturned all of nature to get there in time. He saw them, and they were absolutely petrified. Well, the ghost looks like Jesus. He must have hired a boat to come get us, and then he was killed. So this is Jesus' ghost is coming to comfort us. Of course, they were not comforted. They became even more fearful with the problem. Then Jesus says, just wait a minute. I'm here. This is not an imaginary figure standing before you. I'm me. This is the Jesus that you know. And now I'm going to walk over to the ship and get inside. And so, one of the greatest miracles that is ever recorded in the Word of God is this miracle that no one can explain. The Roman centurion who wrote in his report, military report, was very complimentary to Jesus, and stating that this man is not all man; he must be part God. And even the Roman centurion recognized it. And while Jesus was saving his disciples, he also saved the lives of over 200 Roman soldiers. So the spillover of helping his beloved also ministered to the unbelievers. And I'm sure they did not remain unbelievers for long. What about your life? Okay? Do you ever get to the point to where you say, Lord, where are you? I've been praying, I've been fasting, been standing on your word. Why hasn't there been an improvement? Why? I just don't understand. Every place I look, it's dark and black. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. The wind is blowing. Everything in my life is going down for the count. And where are you? I can't hear you. I can't feel you. I can't see you. Are you there? So Jesus probably had many options. We don't know for sure. But he chose this option as a testimony to us, his followers. When he says this, I will do anything that I have to do to come to your rescue. Whatever I have to do, I'll get there. Even if it means changing the laws of nature to do it. I will always have my eyes upon you. I'll always respond to you as my beloved. And I will always have your life in the priority of my life because I love you. And so the difficulties that you have in your life, healing, salvation of loved ones, salvation of spouse, a new job, financial stability, All of those things your master knows. He knows about it. And there will be times that some other means can make it happen and be successful. But there is going to be those times that nothing is going to work. And every place you look, every place you read, every place you feel, you hit a stone wall. Lord, don't you understand how important this is to me? Well, yeah, he does. Lord, don't you care enough to even give me a word of comfort? But he didn't. He didn't give them a word of comfort. He was walking to them, but they didn't know that. And then when they do get a glimpse of this Jesus who they have been following and who they are ministering for and on behalf of, it's not real. It seems like a dream or a fairy tale. It's something that I can't grasp, hold on to. It's just, I know that Jesus is there, but he's not doing anything to help me. And when it gets to that point, buckle your seatbelt, because your God is just about ready to do something in your life that is beyond nature, that is beyond logic. It's beyond anything and everything that we can touch, see, smell, or feel. Even if it means totally overturning the laws of nature to come to your rescue.
Amen.
And he will do exactly that. Unfortunately, though, before that happens, you have to go through the storm. A storm that you feel that God even says, go ahead and go. Do it. And then when you did, everything that could go wrong went wrong. But Jesus is still God. And he will make sure, absolute sure, that he will do everything in his power to come to your rescue, because he knows that you are needed by him and him of you. So, why the Lord changed this sermon, I don't know, but maybe that person is out there that needs this. We're going to pause for some questions and answers. And while you're thinking of that, just basically, this story tells us this. Things happen. Okay? Things happen in your life. You can't guard against things happening. Okay? Some of those things, you feel like God knew. Some of the things maybe you feel like God wasn't in control of. He may cause you to go someplace or do something that you're not familiar with, and you're not even sure whether God is in it or not. But once you're there, things seem to be going okay, but then the storm hits. That's unexplainable. You don't know where it's coming from. You don't know how long it's going to last. You don't know anything about this storm other than the fact that it's not a natural one. It's everything that can possibly go wrong is going wrong. And that's when your God will give you that assurance. You can't see me, you can't hear me, but I can see you. And you can be assured that I will move all the forces of heaven and earth to come to your rescue.
Amen.
My name is Brad Charles. I'm the president of the Cubit Foundation. At the Cubit Foundation, we primarily focus on helping widows and orphans all around the world. I'm a carpenter. I know how to build things out of wood. I like organizing trips that get people out of their normal life and bring them to somewhere that's completely foreign to them, and they actually produce a project, like they build something with their own hands. I started traveling and serving in this way when I was around 13, and from that time I've always had a soft spot for Mexico.
My name is Micah Carter. I'm the director of Big Heart Orphanage here in Reynosa, along with my wife Jennifer and my sister Opal. We've been directors here for 2.5 years. At Big Heart Orphanage, we focus on children and their lives and to give them a better future.
The difference that Big Heart has made in this community, in my mind's eye, is saving kids from poverty. Big Heart puts these kids through school, gives them a place to live, provides all their medical needs. I mean, you name it, they do it.
My parents came to Mexico when I was 3 years old. I grew up in the mission field with my parents, and so Mexico is home to me.
We're great friends, and I trust Micah. I admire his drive. I admire his follow through, and he puts up with me and all my stuff.
Brad Charles and the Cubit Foundation have been a huge blessing to Big Heart. We really enjoyed working alongside each other. They've just been a huge help in the way that they come, they serve, and we've been able to build amazing relationships through the time that they've been here. One of the big focuses that we've always had with our kids is knowing the fact that education plays a huge part in this country, and unfortunately the local schools don't have the best education. So we felt upon our hearts that we needed to build a school for our kids and do a homeschooling style, but because of the need in our community, we were able to expand that and then open it up as a private school. The school's name is Regents. We have now 500 kids coming from kindergarten all the way up through high school.
At the Cubit Foundation, we have a great opportunity to start a carpentry class and welding metal fabrication classes involving Regent School. So the next step with the Cubit Foundation with Big Heart and Regent School is to start these 2 classes and build onto that, and then these classes are going to train kids to do something with their life after they get out of school.
I'm really excited about the next steps for Regents. We're looking at now teaming up with Cubit Foundation and them being able to show a trade to these kids that really broadens the effect that we'll be able to have on this community and on our students.
I'm going to be teaching the carpentry classes for Regents, but my friend Ed, he's going to be teaching welding. I've traveled all around the world with Ed, from Egypt to Colombia, Mexico. He's a great guy, he's got a great heart. He'll do anything for these kids.
Oh, we don't have that much time for me to tell you what I think about Brad Charles. My name is Ed Tanner. I'm a welder fabricator of metals, welding and cutting and grinding metals. I've been doing this for 44 years. Brad has turned out to be a positive influence in my life. Brad has gotten stuff out of me that I would have never tried by myself. When I first came to Big Heart and Brad asked me to come and go on a mission trip, I had no idea what a mission trip could be taken to do. And it gave me a very good feeling about the direction of my life was going.
What I would personally like to do with every kid that takes a class is, teach them a trade, teach them when they get out of school that they can actually do something with their own hands and make money at it and raise a family and get a wife, have some kids, even build a house if they wanted to. So I want to invest that time and time and money into these kids because I do care about them, and I want them to have a better life.
The area of Reynosa where Big Heart and Regents is located is a low to middle class, and surrounding us are multiple factories, and that is a common job for somebody in this area. It's a reliable job, it's not the best paying job, where if someone has an education or has a trade, will then be able to have opportunities to be an entrepreneur, start their own business, and start doing things on their own, where they would have more of an effect on their community too, where they're pouring into their community and not just working at a factory.
There will always be welding fabrication in this world today. A good welder can find a job anywhere they want to go.
The reason why it's so important that kids have a trade when they get out of high school, if they're not going to college, I mean, they get pulled into drugs, they get pulled into being in gangs, they get pulled into prostitution. I mean, you name it. They need a direction, and we're here to help direct them into their next path.
And starting this new adventure, I would call it, with adding these trades to the school, we do have some work that needs to be done on the facilities that we're going to be using for these trade classes.
We have to buy tools, and we have to fill the shop with tools and safety gear and everything that goes along with the shop for 15 kids. Not just 1 year, but year after year after year after year.
It's going to take welding machines, grinders, drill presses. It's going to take cut and torch outfits. It's going to take safety equipment. So we got a long way to go, but we're off to a good start. And I see a lot of potential right here where we're at.
Big Heart Orphanage and Regents is 100% funded, primarily by individuals that have come and been a part of what we're doing here and have seen the need and have decided to support what goes on here 24/7 all year long.
I'm not going to get paid to do these classes. I don't take a salary from Cubit Foundation.
What do I want out of this? To feel good about my life, to feel good about what I've done, and to share the positive things and the good things in my life, to maybe pass it on to another generation.
I mean, it would be great, an explosion of kids interested in learning these trades.
Anywhere that we can have a positive influence on the next generation, it's an investment into the future. And that's what I'm excited about as far as being a part of a positive investment in people's lives.
I really want to see the Cubit Foundation doing these carpentry classes, doing these welding classes, but I'm really going to need your help. You can spend money on all kinds of things in your whole life. Why not invest in a kid, teaching them a trade, and helping them when they graduate high school to get out and join the workforce and start a great family. And by helping out with this project, it's going to do it. It's going to impact somebody's life for the rest of their life.
Welcome to Cubit Farm. Welcome.
I'm standing in the midst of God's widow's farm, which is actually a local phenomenon around here. And what you're seeing are the grapes that come from this farm. Before God gave us this acreage, originally 6 acres, now 10 acres, this plot of land was producing about 1 ton of produce or grapes or whatever it was producing, about 1 ton an acre. But what has made this so phenomenal is that we're now averaging between 9 and 10 tons an acre on whatever is planted. Now, you see the grapes here, but we also raise eggplant, both black and yellow eggplant. There's corn, okra, squash. We have tomatoes, apricots, mangoes, and with the onions and grapes and onions and garlic and leeks, and it's just phenomenal. And what we do, we produce this, and the widows get the first crops, and we satisfy their needs first, and then once the widows are satisfied with the fresh produce, then we sell it, the remainder, and with the money that we get from the produce that we sell at market, then we can buy them blankets and shoes and school supplies and clothes and things like that they need. And if they need to go to the doctor, then we can pay for their doctor's visit, dentist visits, and so forth. And so this God's Widows Farm produces all of that. We're supporting about 1,200 widows a month, plus their children, and it's just absolutely phenomenal what God is doing here, and it's actually beyond belief the type of produce that comes off of this farm, and it's just, and there's no chemicals, no preservatives that goes into anything. It's just absolutely wonderful, and the taste is, again, phenomenal.
God's Widows Farm is made possible by supporters of the Cubit Foundation. You can help today by visiting cubitfoundation.org and give your gift of hope today.